Hello, everyone. Hope everything is going good today for you. This is your host, Tyler, and this is the fourth episode of the Yugioh Duelist podcast. Alright, so we've had a couple of interesting things going down with Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately. Had a shift in the metagame because of grand creators. We have gotten the XYZ festival on Master Duel. Those are probably going to be the two big things I'd talk about today, but we also had the ban list more recently. Overall, we've just had a whole bunch of interesting things going on within the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sphere altogether. So, like I said, those are probably going to be my two main things that we're focusing on today. It's probably what I'm going to title the video around, but regardless, we are going to have a couple of other things to talk about here today, so hope you sit back and enjoy the discussion. Alright, so to start off our episode today, we are once again talking about the ban list, because I cannot escape this stupid topic at this point. I'm pretty sure everyone has already heard the opinions and such of what happened on this most recent ban list, so I'm not going to go over everything as in-depth as maybe I would have wanted to. But even then, even if I wanted to, I don't think there's a lot to add on to it, besides the, normal stuff that everyone's already been saying. So, I do apologize if I forget something specifically. I'm just kind of going off of the top of my head right now as far as what the ban list is currently, and the big impacts that I thought were on there. The biggest things that I thought for coming back was Snow and Destrudo. Haven't really seen anything from them right now, but I do definitely think there's going to be something for them in the future. Good things happen, like Protoss being banned. We still need stuff like Scythe banned, or Dagda. Honestly, I could go for either or, but I could also, at the same time, I would also just very much love both of them gone. So, could easily happen. Hopefully it does, eventually, because Dagda has a lot of issues if artifacts get very insane support eventually. But hopefully Konami doesn't do that. Regardless, the Snow Destrudo, or Protoss, Snow Destrudo, Imperial Order, I'm so glad for that. I'm glad Konami just finally listened to some kind of reason. It just seemed like they were just going to keep it there forever, because it's like, we eroded it. It's fine. But, there's still some, besides those two big things, those are the only things I think were relevant ban-wise. The Pot of Desires limit made no sense at all. I mean, sure, decks are using it, but decks are using Pot of Prosperity and Pot of Extravagance. Are you going to limit those? Is Pot of Prosperity going to be limited on the next list or something? I don't know, that just didn't make sense to me. Same with the Monster Gate thing. I mean, I can kind of understand it, but whatever. And, what else was there? We didn't get the Harpy's Featherstorm and Scythe. And, oh yeah, I forgot. Since I mentioned the Harpy's Featherstorm, Smorgalink band. That, I think, is the most impactful thing that they could have done to the Bird Up deck, besides the Recital Limit. I think the Recital Limit was also sort of necessary, but maybe not as necessary as the Smorgalink. But regardless, there was that. We didn't get the Harpy's Featherstorm banned, unfortunately, and we didn't get Scythe banned, so those are going to be, the two biggest things to focus on in the future. Even though Harpy's Featherstorm is probably not going to see that much more play right now, it's still just so stupid. It should have just been Harpy restricted at that point. just such a stupid card. But same thing with Scythe. Those things are gonna probably still be problems later on, so probably gonna need to address them again later. And the only other real big thing that I can think of was skill drain to 3. And, I mean, I might be in the minority here, but I'd rather play around 3 skill drain than play around 1 Imperial Order. Because Imperial Order just, like I mentioned in one of my previous episodes, it limit the card pool that stops the card pool that Imperial Order stops, can't speak properly, is the same card pool that would be trying to stop the Imperial Order from resolving. So, it's just an entire big conundrum with that, and even besides that, I think there's a lot more issues with Imperial Order just in general, just besides the card pool, or the section of the card pool that it stops, but regardless, I would still rather play around skill drain all day. And that's just my opinion. I know other people, they personally hate skill drain more. And I do think it is kind of stupid that it's at 3 again. But, I mean, what are you going to do? It is Konami, after all. They make weird and reckless decisions, and we've seen that throughout a majority of Yu-Gi-Oh's time. But I think that's really everything I wanted to talk about with the ban list discussion, so we will be getting into the bigger meat of our topics here today. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, our metagame has been shaken up a little bit because of Grand Creators, and I guess you could technically say Battles of Chaos. The most relevant thing out of there was the new Flunder spell. Unfortunately, I don't think anything has really been happening with Flunder, but at the same time, in that set, there is actually some kind of cool rogue stuff for like Mutant. I know, for example, they have a new starter card which kind of helps the deck out a lot, and one card that I was surprised to see in the set, which I guess it kind of confirms that the new structure deck isn't going to be made for the agents, which is the I was going to say the Angel, but it's the Agent of Destruction, Venus. I really wish they kept the God of Destruction one, the God of Destruction translation instead, because I think that one is a little cooler. But regardless, it is an interesting card if someone can find a way to do something with it. It basically does the other half of what Venus can't do. It summons Shine Balls from Banished or Grave. But I think it's if they leave the field, they go to the bottom of the deck. Which essentially, if you get both that and Venus on field, you have a way to facilitate even more extension plays with the Mystical Shine Balls, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that the Agent of Destruction one is a hard once per turn to bring one back, unfortunately, so no real big shenanigans with it, but there could be something there. Regardless of those two, I'm kind of blanking on anything really that was high impact. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. But big thing, obviously, everyone was talking about for a little bit and still talking about right now, is the Brave engine, or the Adventure engine, as it has been translated to. And to talk about translations again, I actually think that one was a little bit better of a translation and kind of a better name than what OCG has. If OCG is actually like calling it Brave stuff, or whatever you want to say, like if they're just calling it Brave instead of Adventure, like Adventure makes more sense because it's essentially just like the token is essentially you, like you the player, and then the other like monsters, or in this case characters in this like MMORPG world, or whatever you want to call it. Like they're assisting you in this like adventure towards I don't know, whatever the heck they're doing, like beating some big anime boss villain to save the world, or some kind of shenanigans. But it's pretty cool, like the theme and everything with it, and it's a pretty good engine as well, which is interesting to see with Konami's more recent like design philosophy with having powerful engines, but like not really having a powerful like coherent deck around that engine, which I don't know if that's technically better for the game or not, because you can basically play the adventure stuff in anything, but at the same time, like you can't really play the deck on its own. At least not to like a full effective yeah, and not to an extreme effect. Like I definitely think there is something that you can do with that deck, but it is very few and far between of what you're going to be capable of doing. At the same time, it is still very good regardless. Like people were splashing it in Phantom Knight, people were thinking about it in Dragon Link. I haven't really seen it in Dragon Link, but you can easily put it in there. I've seen it in VW. Essentially, I've seen it in that big like Wombo Combo Synchro deck, and that deck's actually really cool. Like it's kind of that what is it? It's kind of like Dark Synchro. No, Synchro Fusionist, which is if anyone doesn't know what that card is, it's essentially this. It was essentially this deck revolving around the card Synchro Fusionist, which it was a combo deck that utilized at the time Elder Entity Norden, along with a whole bunch of Synchro monsters, and essentially you would loop Norden, if I could speak properly. Yeah, you would loop. I messed up on it again. You would loop Norden, and you would basically just bring back a whole bunch of monsters, make a whole bunch of synchros, and just wombo combo off from there. And it was pretty cool, but it also was just like a random mishmash of stuff. Like, it wasn't anything specific you were playing in the deck. There was stuff that you wanted to play in the deck, obviously, but there wasn't anything like set in stone that you had to play in the deck. But that is reminding me very similar to that, and honestly, I really enjoy that in that aspect. Like if that was like the key thing to bring like a deck like that to being in reality, then I'm all for it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. It has like a whole bunch of different play lines, has a whole bunch of different things that it can do within the deck itself, and overall, it's just a cool thing to see, and I really hope that we see that kind of stuff continue forward, if like the big bread and butter thing here is the adventure engine. But at the same time, I feel like it could happen regardless of the adventure engine, but that's just a personal opinion. But at the same time, it is a powerful engine to add to Yu-Gi-Oh's catalog of powerful engines. And, like I was saying, I don't know 100% if that is the best thing for the game or not, because I want to see, like, a powerful deck that can stand on its own at the same time. And, maybe there can be synergistic things here and there with it, but at the same time, like, I would rather just see a deck be able to thrive on its own. And I don't know. I think there is definitely a place for powerful engines and the utility that they can bring into a game, but Konami hasn't really done that too recently with a lot of decks. They've done it like sparingly with a couple of decks here and there, but they have not done it like overall in general with a lot of decks. So I would say that's my overall thoughts on everything with it. There is one card that I definitely think will make the deck a little more interesting that we don't have yet, and it's a adventure card that it gives control of it to your opponent, and then it bounces 2 of their monsters as a quick effect as long as you control an adventure token. And that's pretty interesting. Might make some interesting shifts with how the engine is played, potentially. Probably not fully, but at the same time, it sounds very powerful. It seems very powerful. Hope it gets utilized when it comes out, but only time will tell. And yeah, I think overall that's everything I really want to talk about with the adventure stuff. So I will be moving into talking about stuff along the lines of Master Duel. So moving into our Master Duel discussion, I wanted to have an overall general talk about Master Duel right now, but also a little bit of focus on the XYZ Festival. First off, to go over the XYZ Festival, this will lead into my other, more broader topic here. But the XYZ Festival overall has been extremely enjoyable. It's been interesting to see the kind of decks that have come out because of the self turn kill deck, or whatever you want to call it, the pay all my life points out deck, or whatever it is. Just the suicide deck, I guess you could say. It's very funny to see that people did that for the first couple days of it, and heck, I saw someone doing it after the medal reward system was changed. So people might still be doing that, which is absolutely crazy and very, very funny to see. For anyone that might not know, essentially the reward system for the XYZ Festival at first was 100 for a win and 50 for a loss of medals. And then after you get so many medals, you get X amount of rewards or whatever it is. And in general, that sounds all well and good, but people just said, oh, hey, I can probably grind these medals a little bit faster if I just make a deck that just burns all my life points. And the reason they did that is because if you surrender, you don't get any of the rewards, regardless of win or loss. So the only other solution from there is to either wait for your opponent to kill you, or do it yourself. And that's essentially what people did. And Konami luckily upped the winning rewards. They kept the losing rewards the same, but they upped the winning rewards up to 500 medals. So now it's way less of an incentive to basically get the loss, because now it's a 10 times reward if you win, which I think is a good thing. Definitely positive way to influence people to play the game without making it a huge issue or whatever. But even besides for how fun the event is, Master Duel in general just feels very weird right now. And that is just specifically because there is just such a lack of stuff to do within the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully understand, and I do agree with the people that say this, that there is a lot of like statistical hours that you can put into the game from the launch of the game. That is very true. There is a lot of stuff to do at the launch of the game. And I do think that is an important thing to mention. But at the same time, all of that focus of time and gameplay is diverted into a very, very small select couple things. It is, and that is mainly just the story mode and the rank ladder. There might be like some people that play with their friends in just like friendly games here and there, but that's not really the main focus of everything that they're going to be having with the game. And that is more so where the general issue lies, rather than the issue of that it's not like statistically making me put this many hours in comparison. Like, there's just such a lack of stuff to do with Master Duel. Like, you have the rank ladder, like I said, in the story mode, and that's essentially it. Right now, we have the XYZ Festival, and I think that's good, but at the same time, that's still only 3 options of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think that there can be such a thing as too much stuff to do. I definitely feel that with Duel Links, because Duel Links, as soon as you launch the game, there's just so much that you can do, and so much that is going on just right from the start. Because if you log in, and there's an event going on, that event's going to play, and then the initial cutscenes of whatever's of when Duel Links like first puts you into the game is going to play. There's going to be all kinds of different things that you're going to have on your screen that you're going to be looking at. There's gems, there's gold, there's the gate, there's random duelists that you can see throughout like 3 different screens. There's dual quizzes, there's the rank ladder, there's the event itself. If there's an event going on, there can be the event rank ladder. Like, all of that is just like crammed in there. And if you're first launching the game and you go through all that, there's just so much being thrown at your face. But with Master Duel, luckily right now, still simple, and I hope it doesn't go down the Duel Links route, but at the same time, there still needs to be more to Master Duel than just a couple of things to do, because the longevity of the game isn't going to go up if there isn't as many things to do within the game. That's just kind of how it is. Like, people can only play ranked for so long. There's only so many story missions, and if you complete all of them, like, the only thing from there to do is just to do those reward challenges for story mode, and that's about it. And even then, you don't, like, some people might not be even incentivized to do that. They might just want to grind out ranked mode. But if you grind out ranked mode and you get up to Plat 1, like, there's nothing to do. And don't get me wrong, again, I definitely think that there is people out there that have, just kind of like turboed through Master Duel, and, from there they're just complaining because they just turboed through it, and, they have nothing to do with it now. But at the same time, I still think there should be more to do. Like, why I think the XYZ Festival is good, and why I think the Synchro and Fusion one are going to be good, is because these could potentially lead to other game options within Master Duel that allow us to have, like, say, alternative formats that are going on, or alternative game modes, or whatever it might be. Like, even just alternative ban lists, like, going on. Like, that in itself could also help. Because, there's only so many times that someone can like lose to skill drain on Eldritch, or lose to like the infinite negate Herald of Ultimateness board, or whatever it might be. Like there needs to be something else for players to divert their attention to, besides two options that can, if you go through them, that they can just completely like fizzle out of enjoyment, or wanting to play it afterwards, or whatever it is, whatever you want to say about it. Like, there needs to be something else for the game. And honestly, like right now, I would say like the XYZ Synchro and Fusion festivals should honestly just stay like as permanent game options. Like only synchros, only fusions, only XCs, like those sound like pretty cool options as alternative formats that Master Duel can have. And maybe they could even add in like only Link monsters for a fourth option, or even if they don't want to, like still those could easily just be like alternative ways to play the game, and other fun ways to have playing the game. And like all that just in general, like I just want Master Duel to thrive for as long as it can, and hopefully it thrives until the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Heck, maybe it can thrive even past the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! And obviously we don't know when the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be, but at the same time, like, I hope it can at least thrive until that point comes. So that's my bigger point with that. Again, overall, Master Duel in general has been fun. XYZ Festival has been fun. I just want more more things implemented that are alternative game modes, alternative formats, alternative ban lists, whatever it is, that make it so we can have more fun with the game in general. So, yeah, that's my Master Duel part of our discussion. Okay, so this last thing I wanted to go over today was in regards to a post that I saw on Yugioh Duelist that got a little bit of traction. And it was talking about competitive players and soft cheating. Which, when I assume when they say that, it's like small things that are still cheating, instead of like things that are major and like noticeable with cheating. But to me, regardless of whatever cheating you're doing, you're cheating. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But in the post, referencing the post, it was basically saying that competitive players need to soft cheat in order to do well or to top events. And I wanted to rant on that specifically because I was thinking about it around the time that I was thinking about the other topics, and this one to me, like, it's just an egregious misunderstanding of how competitive players are and what separates them from the average player of a game, and specifically in this case, Yu-Gi-Oh! So, first thing I want to say, for me specifically, if you're cheating in any way, shape, or form, that doesn't show me, like, how well you did, no matter what place number that you got. That just shows me, like, that you will have a lack of confidence in your skill set, and you had to do that in order to, like, validate yourself in order to get a higher placement. Like, to me specifically, that doesn't prove anything to me. And to a lot of other people, that doesn't prove anything to them. And, if you are cheating in whatever you're doing, it doesn't have to be Yu-Gi-Oh! It can be like any other competitive thing that you can think of. If you're cheating to get ahead of other people, you shouldn't be in that thing in general. Like, what's the point at that point? Like, sure, you're getting a higher place number. Maybe you reap some rewards here and there, but like that doesn't prove anything to anyone, like on a personal level, or like assessing your skill set or whatever it is. That's just showing that you took advantage of something in an unfair way. And that is not what competitive players, for the most part, are doing. Before I go on to talk about the aspects with them, with competitive players, I do understand there are competitive players that have done things in not only Yu-Gi-Oh, but like any other competitive thing that you can think of, like competitive sports, competitive recreational games, competitive video games, whatever it is. There have been multiple people in multiple different instances that have cheated to get ahead. And maybe they do have some skill set to them as well. That's very much possible. But whatever their skill set is, it doesn't matter, because them cheating shows that they do not have they're not confident enough in that skill set that they have acquired up to that point to do well in whatever they are doing. And that is not what, like, competitive players that are doing it legitimately, that's not what they are doing in order to top or do well consistently at these events. Two big examples I'm going to talk about here is Jesse Cotton and Pack, which is another YouTuber on here, which I definitely recommend to you if you haven't heard of him yet. He is a really, really good competitive player, and he breaks down stuff pretty decently, and he's got some really good content on his channel about all kinds of different things that he has done competitively. But besides all that, talking about Jesse Cotton first. Jesse Cotton, for anyone that doesn't know, competitive player in Yu-Gi-Oh, has done well at multiple different events and has done well with multiple different decks consistently. And Pack, he's also, again, competitive player. He has done well with multiple different decks, and he has done multiple different deck profiles talking about those decks he has topped with. And with both of them, the reason that they are able to do well, and the reason that they are able to consistently do well, is because they are applying themselves in a different way and in a different skill set than other people. Like, with Jesse Cotton, well, for both of them, I should say, like, more, I guess more so for Pack, because we have multiple videos of him talking about his stuff. We have multiple videos of Jesse doing deck profiles, but, you know, whenever you listen to them talk about deck building and their ways that they have broken down their decks and understanding their decks and doing everything with it, they understand fundamentally more about the decks that they are playing and more about what they are putting into that deck and the game that's going on in general than the average player. Excuse me. Like, in comparison to me, like, I think I am okay at the game. I think I have, pushed myself to a decent enough spot in the game. But in comparison to Jesse and Pack, I feel like I am nowhere close. I do not think I could apply myself in that consistent of a way to do that consistently well at multiple different events. I might be able to, but that doesn't mean I necessarily have the capabilities to. And there's a big difference there because, they have, like, when you listen to Pack's deck profiles, like, he has like 27 half-hour long deck profiles just going in depth of like why he wants these specific number of cards for his engine, why he wants these specific number of starters, extenders, why he was playing this spell over this other spell, what he thought the benefits of this card was over the other one, what the downsides are in some cases and in some matchups, and what he was trying to focus on within his deck building against certain matchups or against specific engines or whatever it is that he might see throughout the day. And, you know, that's the same thing with Jesse that you can see with whenever he talks about decks, not only, but also with his technical play. We've seen a lot. I think we'd probably seen a little. We've definitely seen both of them because Pac has been shown off multiple times. Like, yeah, on his streams, not only, but also just like in competitive level events. But my whole point with that is that they both have been shown to have like high levels of technical play in comparison to, like, say, an average player. And in a competitive scene, you can notice that and see that they have applied themselves in that way, and that is the big difference maker between those type of players in comparison to other, like, average players. Like, it's just basically a night and day thing. Like, for like Pac and Jesse, like, both of them, like, I don't know their full histories. I don't know if they have cheated or not in some way, shape, or form in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I'm not, like, their, like, moral compass or anything, or whatever you want to say about it. Like, I'm not an all-seeing overlord about everything that they've ever done. But from my assumption and perception of them so far in their Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, they have not done anything to that egregious level. And I would assume that they have never done it in general. And they don't need to, even. Like, they literally don't need to, because they fundamentally understand the game to a higher level in comparison to other people, that they just don't need to cheat to even get ahead. Even if they, like, had the mindset to want to. Like, they just have everything more grasped in their heads and in their play than other people do. And again, you can see that through the technical play, but also their deck building and such and such. Like with Jesse Cotton, for example, like, he played Sky Striker in one event when he was known for playing this Thunder Dragon Link combo deck. And I don't remember, like, the full reasoning he had behind it, but one reason I remember specifically is that he thought the Sky Striker deck was more consistent at that specific event than the Thunder combo deck would be. And he was rewarded pretty well for it, because he took that Sky Striker deck, not only did well with it, but also innovated on it, because he put Utopia Double and Utopia in his extra deck, and he did that to OTK his opponents very easily in situations where maybe he needed to win in time, or not only that, but just to close out games way faster than he could regularly. And at that time, that was just such a interesting and crazy innovation. And, I very much enjoy seeing that, because that really shows his higher level of capability and understanding. Like, I remember specifically, there was one specific game that I remember that people talked about for a little bit, and it was against another competitive player, and he, it was that exact situation that Jesse had talked about within the deck profile that he was doing, like the things that he was preparing for with this specific package. And that was like the situation that happened. They were both very close into time, and it was Jesse's turn, and he was doing some normal plays, and he got 2 Sky Striker Ace Rays on the field. overlaid them for the double, used the double effect, got the Utopia double, or got the Utopia, used double into nothing, and attacked over. And that won him the game. All because he was able to do that. And, maybe there was a situation where he could have won the game, like, in different ways. And it's very much possible that he could have piloted successfully that specific turn, potentially. But at the same time, there could have been a situation that came up that maybe we didn't see on camera, where he did that exact same thing, but he wasn't able to take the game or close out the game, specifically if he did not have that engine in that specific event. And, that's very much possible to have happened. And, I'm just very glad to see that he was rewarded for that, because that was good understanding of his, not only the deck that he was playing, but also his output with power output with the deck, and like fundamentally understanding something that he would need to do in order to more effectively play against other people. And that's the biggest example I can think of, but there's probably multiple other examples, not only with those two, but with other competitive players, that is easily identifiable within that kind of scope. And again, like I was mentioning before, I fully get it. I understand. There is people out there that do egregious things in multiple different events. There's been multiple cheaters throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. There have been multiple different things that have happened throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history that have been unfortunate, and that have been like very toxic and such with that. And it's rough to see. It puts you in a negative mindset of like, oh, well, there's not really a point to take this legitimately or whatever, and then, it just makes it feel like all these competitive players are doing that. But I promise you, there are, like, it's not everyone. It's not everyone at all. It is a majority of people that want to do well, but don't want to apply themselves to that level that they want to be at. Like, like going back to me, for example, like I said, I could probably do well if I applied myself, if I really, really wanted to. If I really wanted to, I could take the game hyper seriously, go on an extreme competitive grind, and going to multiple different events, and like joining different events, and finding out deck theory, deck crafting, and all this other stuff. And, that's very much possible, but I personally don't want to do that right now. I kind of have a lot on my plate personally, and I know a lot of other people do, and, it's not saying that they don't, like people that take it competitively don't, but that's something that they are passionate about and that they want to do. And that's perfectly fine if they're doing it properly. They are applying themselves to that level because they want to. And I can't take that away from them. It's just not something that I would want to do. It's not something the average player would want to do. And if you don't want to do that kind of thing, that's perfectly fine. But, again, going back to that original post, it is egregious to think that players need to do that in order to win. Because a win, like competitive players that are legit get their wins not through cheating. Like they're getting those because they are playing as effectively as they can. They are playing like decks that they are confident enough in, and making plays and making combos, or having putting in specific cards to control the flow of the game that they specifically think is going to work the most effectively against their opponents. And not I'm singing a lot of praises here, but I do understand, not all of them are perfect in that regards of like constant skill improvement. But again, it's still a night and day thing. It's still just large difference in comparison of what they are fundamentally doing in comparison to what other players are doing. And regardless of the bad apples out there, I don't think that should take away from the credit that those competitive players, the accomplishments that those competitive players have and will have in the future. So, I think that will be everything that I will say about that for right now. Alright, so I think that will be everything that we talk about here for today. Hope you all enjoyed those discussions and my little rant there about that post. Feel free to comment about anything that you thought was interesting in regards to the discussion and anything that you might want to talk about in regards to those specific things with the discussion. Feel free to do all the typical YouTube stuff as well. And regardless of whether you are having a day, night, evening, or whatever it is that you're having, I hope it is a good one. And I will see you all in the next video. I'm going to try to put these out a little more frequently, hopefully. Hopefully is the key word there. But regardless, have a good one.